All right, let's kick off this deep dive, and we're talking all about leveraging real estate in Chile specifically for you.
Oh, this is going to be good.
It is, it is. We found this awesome YouTube video.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one from Riqueza Vital.
Yeah, that's the one. And the title is U descubre el secreto del apalancamiento en bienes raíces.
Catchy.
I know, right? But you know what? It really does break it all down. It makes it so easy to understand.
Yeah, it simplifies those complex concepts.
Exactly. So basically, the big takeaway is how to make your money work harder for you in the Chilean real estate market. And the secret is you don't need a ton of cash to get started.
That's the beauty of leverage.
It is. And this video does a fantastic job of demystifying it. Like right off the bat, it gives you this really relatable scenario. Like imagine you've got your eye on this amazing apartment in Santiago. Okay. And it's worth, let's just say, a cool 100 million Chilean pesos.
Nice place.
I know, right? So, of course, you could spend years, maybe even decades, just saving up every single peso.
Well, who has time for that?
Seriously. Or, and here's where it gets interesting, you could use leverage.
Enter leverage, the game changer.
Boom! So instead of needing that full 100 million up front, you could put down, let's say, 20 million and just borrow the rest.
Makes that dream apartment a lot more attainable.
Right, and suddenly you're controlling this much bigger asset from the get-go, so your potential returns, well, they're amplified.
Talk about a financial turbo boost.
It is. It's like you're giving your investments this massive head start. But, okay, let's get practical. How does this actually play out in the real world?
Well, the video walks you through all those key steps, like how to secure financing, how to actually acquire the property,
All right.
how to calculate your potential return on investment, your ROI, all that good stuff.
Love it. But there's got to be a catch, right?
Well, there are always risks involved, and this video doesn't shy away from them.
Good. Transparency is key.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it highlights something really important, that even a small difference in how much leverage you use can significantly impact your ROI. And to illustrate this, they give us these two clear-cut examples.
Yeah, those are really helpful. The one where you use like 20,000 of your own money.
Yep. 20,000 of your capital plus an 80,000 loan to buy 100,000 property.
And then with an 800,000 monthly income, you're looking at a 48% ROI, just like that.
Pretty impressive, right?
Totally. But then they compare it to this other scenario where you use 30,000 of your own capital, no loan this time, to buy a similar 100,000 property.
But in this case, your monthly income is only 1,000.
So your ROI drops to 40%.
Right. Which might not seem like a huge difference on the surface, but over time, that can really add up.
It definitely shows how leverage can really amplify your gains, but it also underscores just how important it is to choose the right amount of leverage.
Got to make it work for you and your goals.
Absolutely. So we've established that leverage is this powerful tool, but what makes it particularly advantageous for real estate?
Okay, well, here's where it gets really interesting. The video emphasizes how leverage allows you to maximize your investment. So basically, by using less of your own capital up front.
You're getting more bang for your buck.
Exactly. You can acquire higher value properties, and in a market like Chile, where certain sectors are experiencing such rapid growth.
Like those up-and-coming neighborhoods we hear about.
Right. That can translate to some serious returns.
It's like you're strategically stretching your investment further, making every peso work harder.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And another huge advantage is capital efficiency. With financing, you can diversify your portfolio, so instead of putting all your eggs in one basket,
You're spreading the risk.
right, you can invest across different types of properties, maybe explore different neighborhoods, or even dip your toes into those emerging markets within Chile.
Smart move, especially in a dynamic market like Chile where things can change quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Some areas are seeing much faster growth than others.
So diversification is key. But okay, let's be real. There have to be some downsides to leverage, right?
Well, every coin has two sides. And while the video highlights the incredible potential of leverage,
It's important to acknowledge those potential risks.
yes, it's crucial for making informed decisions.
Definitely can't just ignore the elephant in the room, right?
What elephant?
The potential for loss.
Ah, yes, that elephant.
If the market takes a downturn and you need to sell, well, you could end up losing money if the property value drops below what you owe.
It's a risk you have to consider.
And then there's the financial burden that comes with borrowing money.
Those loan payments can add up.
For sure. It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement of buying a bigger, maybe fancier property, but over-leveraging can lead to some pretty hefty interest payments.
Suddenly, you're scrambling to generate enough cash flow to cover those payments.
And if your projections were a little too optimistic,
Yeah, it can create this debt cycle that's really tough to break free from.
and that's definitely not what we want.
Not at all.
I really appreciate how the video balances that excitement of leverage with the need for careful planning and realistic expectations.
Absolutely got to keep those feet on the ground.
It emphasizes thorough research and accurate income projections as key to avoiding those potential pitfalls.
Couldn't agree more. Thorough research is absolutely critical.
I mean, you really need to understand local market trends, property values, rental yields.
All that stuff comes into play when you're deciding how much leverage is appropriate for your specific situation.
It's all about making informed decisions.
Exactly. It's like anything else, the more you know.
The better equipped you are to succeed.
That's the key takeaway here.
So we've talked about all these advantages of leverage, maximizing your investments, diversifying your portfolio. But the video doesn't just stop there. It also warns us about some common pitfalls.
Oh yeah, those pitfalls can be sneaky.
They can, and the biggest one the video really highlights is jumping into leverage without enough research.
It's like, yeah, leverage can be powerful, but you got to know what you're doing.
Exactly. It's like you wouldn't use a power tool without reading the instructions first, right?
Exactly. You could end up hurting yourself or messing things up.
And the same goes for leverage. You really need to understand the local market.
Absolutely. Like, what are the trends? How are property values doing?
Yeah, and what about those economic trends? Are things stable or is there a lot of volatility?
All of that matters. And then you have to look at the specifics of the property itself.
What's the condition? What are the potential expenses?
Right, because you got to make sure the numbers make sense before you jump in.
Okay, so let's say you're thinking about leveraging to buy a vacation rental property near a ski resort in Chile.
Sounds like a dream.
It does, but what if you don't research things like seasonal demand?
Oh, yeah, good point. What if nobody wants to rent it in the off-season?
Exactly. Or what about local regulations? Maybe there are restrictions on short-term rentals.
You could end up with a property that's not generating the income you expected.
Ouch, that's a good reminder to do your homework.
Definitely. It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement of a hot market.
It is, and that's why the video really emphasizes the importance of having accurate income projections.
Those projections need to be realistic, if not a little conservative.
Yeah, got to factor in those expenses, property taxes, maintenance, potential vacancies.
You need a clear picture of your potential cash flow. And if those projections are too optimistic,
Especially if you're relying heavily on leverage.
yeah, it can quickly lead to financial strain,
Mhm.
and nobody wants that.
So let's shift gears a bit and look at how all this plays out in the Chilean market specifically.
Good idea. Let's get specific.
The video acknowledges that Chile has this strong economy
Yeah, it's been doing really well.
and that there's increasing access to mortgage options, which has definitely fueled real estate investment using leverage.
More people are able to get into the market.
Right, but it also points out these other factors that are adding a layer of complexity.
You're talking about inflation.
Yeah, and those fluctuating interest rates we discussed earlier.
Yeah. Those can definitely make things unpredictable.
They can, and they're affecting how confident investors feel about the market.
So it's not just sunshine and rainbows.
No, there are definitely some challenges. So what does the video say about the future of leverage in Chile?
Well, it's kind of a two-sided coin.
How so?
On one hand, if the Chilean economy keeps growing and if financing options continue to expand,
Yeah.
that could lead to even more people using leverage for real estate. It could become even more common.
So leverage could become even more accessible,
Exactly. But on the other hand, if there's some economic instability,
like a recession or something.
yeah, then investors might get nervous. They might not want to take on as much risk,
They might pull back from using leverage.
and that could cool down the market in certain areas.
So it sounds like it really depends on how these economic factors play out.
It does. There are a lot of moving parts.
And that's why staying informed is so important.
Absolutely. If you're thinking about using leverage in Chile, you got to keep up with those economic indicators.
Definitely. And don't forget about policy changes.
Those can have a big impact too.
So we've gone through all these mechanics of leverage. We've looked at the benefits and the risks. We've even talked about the potential future of leverage in Chile.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But now I want to bring it back to you, our listener.
Yeah, let's make it personal.
You've learned all this great information about leverage.
Yeah, it's time to apply it.
Exactly. So think about your own investment goals.
And your risk tolerance. How much risk are you comfortable with?
And with all this knowledge in mind, are there any property types in Chile that stand out to you?
Like, are you thinking about long-term rentals, maybe in a stable, established neighborhood?
Or are you more interested in those high-growth areas around Santiago where you could potentially see bigger returns?
What about the different regions of Chile? Are you drawn to those bustling cities or maybe those quieter coastal towns?
Each location has its own unique opportunities and challenges, and then there are those practical considerations.
Yeah, you got to think about financing. How much can you realistically borrow?
And how comfortable are you with taking on debt?
Those are important questions to answer before you jump in.
And here's a thought-provoking question that the video didn't really address.
Okay, I like where this is going.
What about leveraging for commercial real estate in Chile?
Yeah, that's an interesting angle.
The video focused mainly on residential properties, but there's a whole other world out there.
Chile has this booming tourism industry.
So maybe you could leverage to invest in hotels, resorts, vacation rental properties.
Or how about office spaces in those thriving business districts? The demand is growing.
And don't forget about e-commerce. They need logistics hubs, warehouse spaces.
Leverage could be your key to getting into those markets.
So it's really about connecting the dots, your investment goals, your risk tolerance.
And the opportunities that are out there.
It's an exciting time to be looking at real estate in Chile. It's amazing how much we've unpacked from just one YouTube video, right?
It really is. It shows how much you can learn from just one good resource.
And it's all about applying that knowledge. So we want to hear from you, our listeners. What were your biggest takeaways from this deep dive?
Yeah, what really stood out to you? What got you thinking?
Maybe there was a particular property type that piqued your interest, or a region in Chile that you're now eyeing.
Share your thoughts with us. Head over to our website.
Or find us on social media. We love hearing from you.
We're building a community of smart, engaged investors.
And your insights are valuable, so don't be shy. Jump into the conversation.
And if you're still pondering some questions after this deep dive, reach out to us.
We're always here to help in any way we can to guide you on your investment journey.
So until next time, remember that knowledge is power, but it's what you do with it that really counts.
Take what you've learned about leverage in the Chilean real estate market. Start exploring, and most importantly,
Happy investing.